You come. Come here. Come here. See if we can get all the animals to do it with me tonight. Normally they do. This is the only yoga mat that I care about because it's got the Satan Center business logo on for filming and classes. And it's the mat that the only one that he'll attack. My little passion panther. So as you can see, I've got a sweater on and socks. It's quite chilly here in Edmonton today. And I was hearing from my father in Saskatchewan that it's also a little bit chilly there as well. So in this practice, and any practice, if you want to start with layers on and socks on and peel them off as you start to heat up and warm up and get a little bit more comfortable, that is completely encouraged. I think a lot of the times we get caught up in how things are supposed to look, and we very much take away from how we're feeling in a situation. We're worried more about the image as opposed to the imagination, the spirit. And so we're going to release the imagination. We're going to elevate out of the first dimension that we went into last class, where we went and explored our basic survival instincts and our routines and our day-to-day operations and our body and our family and our environment. And what we're going to do today is go into the second dimension, and we're going to get out of the physical, go beyond that, and get into the feelings, which is what I'm representing today with this sweater on, into the emotional body. And physically, that covers the hip region of ourselves, but that's also governing our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with others. And that's not just other people, that's other species as well. And so we are all creatures of habit, and we all have a mammalian part of our brain. And what we're arriving into come February 5th is a moon cycle in Leo. And Leo is representing, that lion. And the lion is courageous and brave. And the Leo governs the heart and the spine. So if we think of our Leron species, our mammalians, with their slinky long spines, along with our dogs as well too. And so many of these yoga postures, all of them in fact, were taken from studying different things of nature. So mountain pose or bird pose, right? So we were just mirroring nature, and we are nature ourselves. So if we can then begin to go in and study our very selves, our very nature, and then work with that and flow with that, we can create routines and cycles for ourselves that help us flow with nature as opposed to it against it, which will provide for us health benefits along with much more fluidity in our relationships, along with our relationships with ourselves and trying new things and moving and meandering in this world, just like all of these creatures are, and finding their place and finding their habits. And so with the creatures of habits, we can tend to create bad habits for ourselves, or unhealthy habits or patterns. And so we can explore both the light and dark and shadow side of everything, of all of ourselves. We are very complex beings, and we are also contradictions of ourselves. We have these light aspects and we have these dark aspects. And unfortunately, the parts of ourselves we don't understand, we tend to put away into the shadow. And what we can do through yoga, through union, is gather all these parts of ourselves and see them from a different perspective, from a different life, and bring them back into unity and understand the interconnectedness amongst us and others, as well as our very own ideas, thoughts, feelings, and actions. So when we're doing yoga, we're really plugging all of ourselves together, and we're stepping out of what might be more superficial and distracting us, and being able to really be present with what's actually going on. And from that, then we can shift and change. We have the power to do that from within inside of ourselves. And so if you've got socks or a sweater, you can keep them on. If you want to rub and grab them now to put them on, if you didn't think, I never thought I could wear them. So many things start to just look the same. If it's a salon business, they all look the same. If it's a yoga business, they all look the same. so many times we're scared to step out of what's normal or what's already deemed acceptable. And that's where our society tends to fall into these trends and why they take on so easy, is because we are scared to take the path that's less traveled by, to be the one that sticks out and gets that quote-unquote sore thumb or quote-unquote black sheep, where I'd rather be the pink sheep, or not the sore thumb, but the shining thumb, the one that's willing to be vulnerable and put herself out there even if I look silly or fail, because I realize that that's just a part of the fun, part of the journey. And when one of us steps out and is able to do that, we ignite a little bit of that in each other. So from there, our practice today is getting into the spine and getting into our mammalians and studying our habits. And we're going to start today's class. Our first class we started standing up. Our second class we started sitting in a toe squat. And this third class we're going to go all the way onto our backs. And we're going to start in a half moon pose. And so however you'd like to make your way there now, you can do so. I did post in the event that blocks would be an appropriate prop for tonight's class. And if you don't have blocks, grabbing a stack of books like I have here. I'll give cues if you don't have either of them, but these will just help to get a little bit yummier, deeper into the postures and just show you different ways we can play. And that is a big part of the yin energy, is getting into the more mysterious, more secretive, more creative side of things. And so also broadening our understanding of yin. I placed a Spotify playlist as well in there, which I'm going to get started here. And at the end of the playlist, I've added about an hour-long full 7 chakra crystal sing and bowl cleanse. So at the end of the practice, you can take that cleanse into the bathtub, into your bed, wherever you'd like to just fully seal the practice, or have it for another time to try. What it does is the sound therapy hits really to those denser lower floors that we've been hitting the first and second dimension. It helps to penetrate those memories, the vibrations that are stored within those cells. And so it can actually help to shift and trigger and migrate and start to move some of those energies. And so from that, when any time you're intentionally migrating and moving your energies, be prepared, spoiler, that you can have that cause and effect, that you might start to stir things up and experience things. And so you might, after a yoga practice, start to then experience things that you were then feeling come up in that yoga practice. You'll start to attract different conversations or different things into your life that are like, hey, this is all starting to connect. I'm putting all of the dots together, and that's how we then become whole. That's the purpose of taking a moment, taking a step back, and finding the interconnectedness of anything and everything, and taking compartmentalization away from everything, because that just creates holes and gaps in our timeline, and then can affect our mental health, our spiritual health, our emotional health, and then trickle down into our physical health, and that's when ailments start. And so as we make our way down to our backs, you can take a really sweet journey there by planting your soles of your feet into the mat, pulling your arms out in front of you, lifting your heart up to the sky, and we'll start to awaken the heart of the lion and the spine. And then arcing through and then rolling through each vertebrae, tacking the chin in towards the chest to protect it, and then feel each vertebrae plop down or set down on the mat. If you got a clip or ponytail like myself, you may want to take that out because it will get in the way. We're going to be on the floor for a while before we come up. And you can shake out that crown and stimulate it. Open it up like a little container before setting it down. And then once you're here, we're just going to say hi to the spine and the body and release an energetic snowsuit we might be wearing, that mask or facade that we put on. And so I'd like you to invite yourself into a practice of like your best friend right now. You know, that person that you can just completely be yourself with without any judgment or worry about what you're saying or what you're going to look like. And come into that space right now with yourself and with me here and oming at home. And as we take off that snowsuit, we can press our soles of the feet. Should be about hip-width distance apart into the ground. And your hands can come down beside you. Now for my pregnant mamas, anyone expecting this class, please elevate your upper body by putting a blanket underneath you to create like an incline. I want you mamas to put about 50 to 70% of your effort into any twisting you might do. Along with ultimately listening to your body. Your stance, expecting mamas, is going to be wider than hip width distance in basically every pose to make room for the belly. And from here, we're going to use our soles of our feet by pressing them into the mat and pushing your shins forward to begin elevating your root up towards the sky. Lifting the back of the spine off the mat, rolling on towards the shoulders, keeping the chin in line with the navel to protect the neck. No quick movements. Be very tender with the neck. And press through the soles of the feet. Press the shins forward. Press through the back of the shoulder blades and the back of the head. And then a slight engagement throughout the core. And start to feel your motor fire up. Heat begin to build. And allow an inhale to build through the nose. And on an exhale, imagine you're fogging up a mirror in front of you. Growl out that breath. And on the next inhale, breathing through the nose, close the lips and take the same exhale as you're fogging up a mirror. Feeling that growl in the back of the throat, the ujjayi breath. And then slowly lower your bridge, one vertebrae at a time, back down to the earth. We're going to inhale, bring our awareness to our left foot, and we're going to step it out towards the left and then extend it straight off the yoga mat. We're then going to find our right foot with our mind. So really beautiful cognitive therapy we're doing by connecting our mind to our matter, bringing awareness to these body parts and the breath. And then just slightly pick up the right knee, and you're going to roll the right ankle 3 times to the right, 3 times to the left, and then cross it over the left ankle. And you'll start to feel that stretch create through the right side of the body. Inhale your left arm up, over to the left, followed by the right arm on the exhale, crossing the right wrist over top of the left hand, and with the left hand, wrap the right wrist and give it a slight pull on then the inhale. And as you exhale, turn the gaze over to the left and just like to settle into the pose. And then you should feel yourself like a half moon or a banana asana. Now we don't want to roll all the way onto our left sides, onto our left hip. Now how we can prevent that is by bringing our awareness to the back body, to the shoulder blades, and pinning them both to the back of the earth. Continuing that ujjayi breath. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling a growl in the back of the throat with the lips closed. And then bring your awareness to your right hip and roll it open and think of getting the back of the right hip down to the earth as well. And then the side of our body represents the present moment. been talking a lot about the back body, the past. So if we can close our eyes and gaze into the backs of our eyelids as we land into this half moon pose. And we were left in that first dimension, and I'd like you to join me by imagining your elevator in front of you. And if this is your first time popping into the class, you can begin to, for the first time, imagine an elevator in front of you. And as you press the button to get on the elevator, notice the feelings. Honor them, embrace them, pay attention to them. Don't label them falsely. The mind can be quick to go, that's what this is, and label it anger or jealousy or fear or anxiety or depression, but sometimes we just need to pause, like when you're searching Google on a computer, especially if you're on like a dial-up, you're not working with fiber optic high speed. And let your system, let your body have a minute to respond. Our cells are like the RAM and ROM of a computer. Our memories are stored within them. And sometimes our systems are boggled down and they need cleaning and cleansing and clearing out, just like the recycling bin needs hitting delete. It's empty. And so when we take time like these practices to regulate and balance and recalibrate, our Google search works a lot faster. We upgrade. And on that elevator, we're going to get out on the second dimension, the second floor. Our feelings, our emotions, our relationships, the ones with self and others, and other species. The reproductive part of our body. And then from here, we're going to inhale and bend the right knee up in towards the chest, followed by the left, and just roll the hips over onto the back. And you can take just a big hip circle, all the way to the right. And yes, I gave you all a little wee there. It's following what feels good. And then we're going to exhale the right leg out to the outside of the yoga mat. And the left leg then crosses over top of the ankle. And you kind of know where we're going. We're going to imitate the other side. Inhaling the right arm over and the left wrist on top of the right hand, so you can grab the left wrist with the right hand and inhale it overhead. And then exhale, pin the shoulder blades to the back of the earth and turn your gaze over to the right. Drawing both hips down towards the earth. And you can let go of ujjayi breath now and just find your own organic breath. And use it to settle into the pose by finding any areas that are tight or tense. And sending the breath directly there. The oxygen, your army, your soldier of oxygen, to surround each cell and constrict it. And then all that's no longer necessary or needed or aligned or real or true can be cleared and cleansed out with a big exhale and your intention to do so. So breathing into this second dimension, maybe you've already got out of the elevator, maybe you're that trailblazer, go-getter, just out there, ready to go. And maybe you're one that hangs back a little bit. Maybe make sure it's okay. Neither are better than the other, just understand more of which one you are. Get to know yourself. And maybe you have both parts of those within you, and one's been numbed and quieted and put in its place. Big breath to the side body, and exhale, let something go. And then from here, we'll begin to draw the knees in towards the chest again, and just take those hip circles over towards the left. And you can bring your hands down on the floor on either side of the hips to support you as you do so. And then just start to even go to the root of the second floor on our own personal experience, our own personal level, which is ages 10 to 20. And so then study yourself during that time. And from here, we're going to roll over onto our bellies. And so my pregnant mamas, you're going to kind of play around here for a little bit. You're going to roll over onto your right side. We all are. And then the rest of us will go completely onto our bellies, bringing our forearms out in front of us, legs out long behind us in Sphinx pose. But for my expecting mamas, if you got those bellies, you'll extend your right arm out long, gripping the earth, pulling it towards you. And then roll over onto your right side and bring your left arm out over top of your head, grabbing the earth, and pull it towards you. And you're going to feel a stretch all the way through the shoulder and the side of the body. And your left leg can act like a lever, balancing you. And then from here, mamas, with that right hand supporting you out like an airplane wing, you can open up your left arm and come into a lighter twist, just playing with that. And that's where you'll be, and I'll come and collect you in a moment. And so for the rest of us here in Sphinx pose, gripping the mat, pulling it towards you, collarbones open up, shoulders pull back, heart slingshots forward, pressing the top of your pubic bone into the earth and the tops of your toenails. And then press the tops of your feet into the earth and pull the mat towards you, and you'll feel that activate all through the upper back and the spine. And as we shine that heart forward, just inhale through the belly, press it up against the yoga mat, fill it full, and then exhale, look over the right shoulder. Inhale, turn gaze back neutral. And as you exhale, look over the left shoulder. Pulling the yoga mat towards you. Pressing the pubic bone and the tops of the feet to activate the spine. And open up the back of the heart. Turn the gaze back neutral. And I'm going to get you guys set up in a crisscross pose. So we're going to inhale the right arm forward in front of us. And then bend at the elbow and grab your left shoulder. And begin to lower the elbow down to the earth, and your chin can rest in that space like a pillow. And then you're going to take your left arm, locating it with your mind, and send it towards the back of your body. And then slide the top of your hand along your bum, along your back, all the way, turning your fingertips up towards your head, trying to find your other fingertips, trying to locate your left hand, if that's achievable for you. You might leave the top of your left hand on your bum, and that might feel just amazing for you. And you might be all the way binding, interlocking those fingers. And maybe you're my pregnant mama, playing around in her side body stretch, and then finding an area that feels yummy. We're going to land here for a moment as we explore a little bit further those ages of 10 to 20 and our hobbies and what our routines and our habits were like at that age, what our home life was like, what discipline was like, what joy looked like. And just reflecting on that time frame, zooming into it. As we walk around on this second dimension at our beginning of it, at age 10 to 20. So if you think of your root, those foundations you built from 0 to 10, those beliefs, a really simplistic way to look at it is the first time, your first time doing anything. The first dimension, we're going in and healing all of our beliefs, ideas, thoughts, and feelings that were then taken on the first time doing anything. And so much is formed around these beliefs about these first times, and that can begin to create your whole life, and you never then experience anything different because you never allow yourself to believe anything different. And that is the power of our mind. In this one song it says, your mind is your karma, and that I relate to so much, because the mind, it can be so busy, and it can have some very negative thoughts and some very positive thoughts, and it can really rule us, can keep us up at night. Cock block us in doing things. And the mind is that third dimension, and we'll get there soon. But in a way, each part of us, each element, each dimension has its own mind. The reptilian part of the brain, the mammalian, the primitive, and the celestial, all has its own way of thinking from what it's experienced and the beliefs it takes on. So what beliefs did your 10 to 20-year-old take on? From here, we'll begin to release the left hand, bringing it down beside us to support us. And then, my shoulders feel tight, so if you feel woo, some burning in there and churning, just take your time, really give yourself a sweet release out of these poses. We're constricted, we're twisted, so we really gotta, get that sweet relief. Bring that right arm down as well in front of you. And you can settle back in just a sink pose here for a moment. And my pregnant mamas, you're down here playing. All you're going to do is you're going to bring your feet down to the ground, and you're going to shift your hips over to the left. Gripping now the earth with your left hand. Rolling over onto the left side and reaching the right arm straight over your head. Ooh, that feels intense after that last crisscross stretch for me here. And then again, opening up the right arm over the body into the twist. And pregnant mama's just really playing with that. Only about 50 to 70% of your effort. And if in your first trimester, mamas, just really, really light on the twist until baby really settles in. And so for the rest of us at Sphinx pose, we're going to switch on to the other side. So we'll begin to inhale and stretch the left arm out in front of us, bending at the elbow, grabbing the right shoulder, and sending the left elbow down to the earth, tucking our chin into the pillow. Breathing into the belly, filling the space, feeling it rise against the floor. And then reaching that right arm behind you and sliding the top of the hand along the bum cheeks, maybe up the back. Just landing it wherever it feels good for you. And then there's this really beautiful exercise we can do, this inner dialogue we can create by actually talking to these ages, these versions of ourselves, by going, like, hey, 10-year-old. And, you can go through each age. It's actually a really enlightening and meaningful and healing experience. And you can do it in yin postures. You can do it in a bath. You just have to allow yourself to shift out of that sympathetic and into the parasympathetic. So using tools like breathing or yoga, meditating or bathing or journaling. And the intention itself, I'm intending to shift into the parasympathetic to gather this information. We can start with a 10-year-old and go, hey, 10-year-old, just imagine that you're talking to a 10-year-old and how you would. And then you can maybe remember yourself from your left brain of your view, the more self-centered view of how you were. But in this circumstance, when we're in the parasympathetic, we get more of a bird's eye view. When we're on the second floor, we can kind of see ourselves from outside of ourselves. And it is within that second dimension that we need to learn how to put ourselves in others' shoes. And breathing into that. And we might have more juvenile and immature and 10-year-olds that can't focus or sit still or maybe misbehave or rebel. And that's okay. We're not going to judge. We're just going to get to know what this version of our 10-year-old is holding on to is like. And if you hear an answer back or feel an answer back or you see and hearing, you can continue that conversation, just like you're talking to a person that would be sitting in front of you. From here, we're going to release the right arm, bringing it down by the side. The hand plants into the earth to support you. It doesn't have that sweet release out of the posture. Coming into Sphinx pose. Bringing the forearms down to the earth. And just shifting your hips from left to right. Feeling the organic breath. And then from here, we'll split back into tabletop position. And my mamas, please make your way into tabletop position. If you have a clip and need it, we are going to make our way into a few downward dog playful positions, so you might need it tied back up. Begin to walk the hands forward. Now the fun part here is that we're going to be able to play with our props. So those of you who do not have them, as you walk your hands forward, you're going to begin to lower your chest and your arms down towards the earth and rest your forehead. Send the tailbone up to the sky, knees are hip width distance. Slight engagement in the tummy. And for my expecting mamas, you will not need any props. This is where you'll be. But bring those knees even wider. Give yourself a lot of space for the belly. And for the rest of us, if we have some props and blocks, we're going to stack them in front of us. I'm going to do low height, higher height, more intensity. So we'll take the journey there. First dimension, then second, work your way up. If you have books, you'll just stack them as so. There's your demo. And we're going to rest our forearms onto the blocks. And then as you breathe in, fill the belly and shift your hips back over your knees and let your face fall in between the arms and the blocks, resting, if you can, the forehead down to the earth. Breathing into the backs of the shoulders. And this might be enough for you here, but if you'd like a little deeper, just reach your arms a little farther forward onto the blocks and bring your hands together in prayer position. Just make sure your elbows are supported by the blocks and won't slip off. And on the inhale, fill the belly, and you exhale, lower yourself back down. And then begin to send your prayer position towards the back of your neck, pointing your fingers towards your spine. Inhaling, filling the belly, and exhale, sinking a little deeper into the pose. And then just see what shows up here. Because as we're intentionally targeting these areas of ourselves, then we can start to trigger memories. So if you're having memories come up from this time frame, just be compassionate to yourself and breathe into them and remind yourself you're not there anymore. This is just your opportunity to explore. And that you're safe. You have a right to be here. And if at any time it's too much, you just settle into a child's pose or shavasana, deep breaths, and drink some water. We can trigger physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual things during our life. And when we're not aware, this is when we then tend to label them wrong and then don't give ourselves the right remedy or, in a way, dosage or medicine. And I mean that in a natural way. We don't shift our beliefs and our ideas and our thoughts and our feelings to then realize that we can shift everything else. On your next inhale, lower your palms. I guess that's bring them back over the head in front of you. And step your hands off your blocks. And expecting mama's toes together, knees come out wide, and the rest of you, that might feel like a yummy journey for you. If you'd like, or you can keep your legs together. You're going to sink back into child's pose. Sit bones come towards the heels. And making space for yourself to reach your hands forward and rest down onto the forehead. Just regulating the breathing. And noticing any chemical reactions and explosions from that deep heart opening pose. So from here we are going to just remember it's Yin's, flow slowly back into tabletop position. And we can take some circles here to the right, and to the left. So I thought a little alarm go off in my brain that's like, this is my Virgo perfectionist. Stacy, you had everybody rotate that one ankle during that one pose and not the other. So, just to bring balance, make sure that you lift both ankles for my perfectionist Stacy, and they both get rotated in this practice today. Or we know my mind won't let me sleep well. So once those ankles are rolled out, the roots, we're gonna play a little bit. So as our yin is honoring that more creative and playful and mysterious side of ourselves, looking under the rug, looking into the dark side, we're gonna explore some movement here by going onto the ball of each foot and pressing tailbone up to the sky and arriving in a very active downward dog. Pulling the mat towards you, pressing the mat away from you at the same time, intentionally drawing the heels towards the earth, larger than a micro bend into the knees, and just feel into some of that movement, that medicinal movement. And then from here, we're going to inhale our left leg up into the air. And without trying to just lift it or kick it, think of pulling it up, inhaling it from the inner thigh to keep the hips square. And then you're going to bend the right knee and bend the left knee and point it over towards the right side. And you will have a bend in the right knee as well. Now we're going to get a little wild, and we're going to flip our dog and kind of play with wilding a little bit. So if you have already that in your practice, you can go there. And if you're new, let's play. So we're going to start to bend the left foot all the way over as we rotate the body, flipping the navel up towards the sky. From here, just sit down on your bum. Put your right leg out long in front of you and plant your left foot down onto the earth. And your right hand is pressed into the earth as well, fingertips gripping. Now this is where you might want to take the socks off. Starting to heat up a little bit, but also for grip, using that creature part of ourselves. Pressing the left foot into the earth and pressing the knife edge of the right foot. You're going to inhale your left arm up to the sky while pressing the right hand and lifting the bum up. And just feel that motion to begin with and play with your management with your feet and with your hands. Then from here you can start to press up like a rainbow, keeping the left leg bent, but start to straighten into the right leg. Your right shoulder will be over top of the right palm, and then open the heart up to the sky and inhale the left arm overhead. You can bend the left arm to grab the back of the neck and hold it like a little pillow and support it while getting a beautiful stretch through the left shoulder. If you need to at any time, just lower down onto the bum and play and come back up. You can look up to the sky, or then you can take your gaze down to the palm. And from here, press into the left foot. Find your left toes. Rise up onto them. Good. Press into the right foot. And we're going to flip back over into downward dog. It's a very active downward dog. Now you might have built up a little heat here. So if you need, just lower down onto the knees. Rest in tabletop. Or you can come all the way down to child's pose. Just here for a moment. Taking a breath. Regulating. Coming back into downward dog if you're not there already. gripping the mat, pressing the earth away from you, tailbone up to the sky, big bend through the knees. Inhale through the inner thigh, the right leg up to the air. Bend the knee. Point the right toes over towards the left side. You can even glance over to the left side like, hey, I'm coming to you soon, I'm playing. And be proud of yourself for being willing to try it. That's what matters. You're leaving a zone of comfort. Begin to rotate, flipping your chest up to the sky. Remember, you can set down on your bum right away if you need to. Extending. Mom's got a little more space here. So now we're going to be extending, coming into wild thing on the other side. So bending through the right knee, planting the right foot into the earth. Left leg comes out long, finding the knife edge of the left foot, which is just the outside. And so you're really going to have to start playing with the grip and pulling on your toes. And that's like mudra for your toes. You're activating all the elements. So just start to play with the movement. Inhale your right arm up overhead, pressing through the right foot and the knife edge of the left and your left hand. Just play with that movement. When you're ready, inhale and start to straighten the left leg. Keep the right knee bent up towards the sky and inhale the right arm overhead, bending at the right elbow, grabbing the back of the neck, resting the head in it like a pillow, while still pressing the back of the head into the right hand and feeling that stretch through the back body. Your right shoulder right over top of the right hand, pressing through, feeling that little bend to manage. And then when you're ready, pressing through the knife edge of the left foot, find your right hand and flip back into an active downward dog. We're going to bring our knees down to the earth. Pregnant mamas, big toes together, knees out wide. The rest of us, we're going to send our palms back towards the earth and rest our forehead down on the mat, our belly on our thighs, coming into rabbit. And just breathe here. Let something go. You can pick your head up just slightly. Think of like growing your spine, your neck out of a turtle shell, and then setting it back down. And that was a lot of stirring up, stirring the pot. And you can even ask yourself, hey, 10-year-old, how did that feel? And if you're not hearing anything back, this part of you might be numbed or suppressed or dimmed or diluted. And by just intentionally nurturing and spending time with and giving to this part of yourself, you will charge that cell back up. And just like that dried up raisin, I had you guys visualize a cell not getting what it needs should look more like a grape than that raisin. And that's what that 10-year-old cell can look like. And so before it can really give of anything, it needs healing, it needs nurturing first. It's TLC, the right amount of air, water, temperature. And then it will be able to give to you. And it will be holding on to some of the most concentrated and potent, beautiful parts of yourself, purest parts of yourself. It's worth the work, the own work. So from here, slowly rolling up through the spine, is coming to a tall spine with the hands, palms resting on the tops of the thighs. And just breathe here. Close your eyes. Feel the long spine. Grow a little taller. Bring awareness to the light and dark energies, the bipolar, so that of pulling you up towards the geomagnetic, and that of pulling you down, the Schumann. And because this is something I do professionally, I will let you guys know to be very mindful and careful with these energies we are unlocking and opening. That healing is not willy-nilly. It does need to be taken seriously. As does all of our ideas, thoughts, feelings, and actions. There is power behind ourselves. The makeup behind the cells, the atom, the proton, the electron, the neutron, the nucleus. All of these energies connected to nature and collectively work together to gather our systems, our cells that are what create our organism. And so through these practices we're getting to organize our organism. And you can begin to just roll forward onto the knees, cross at the ankle, and roll back into a seated position. And we're going to finish class here in a meditative seat. If you'd like, you can go into Shavasana. It is your choice. Just shift your weight slightly forward and slightly back and find the equilibrium as the eyes close heavy, bones heavy, chin subtly rests into the neck. Clip, pony, anything obstructing the hair, release. Crown cleared, palms fall to the tops of the knees. Inhale, puff the chest. Exhale, let something out. And you can let something out, a yawn, a smile, a sigh, a gurgle, a toot. It's all a release. And with that, part the teeth. The tongue be heavy. The cheeks soft. The forehead relaxing. The jaw unclenching. The mind unwinding. The shoulders letting gravity relax them as we unpack any baggage from our past, realizing we do not need to carry it, polluting ourselves and the environment and the planet, corrupting our habits, our relationships with self and others, labeling things falsely, and severing parts of ourselves. So if we think of a tree, a beautiful fruit-bearing tree, we visualize it. Maybe even the tiniest limb of that tree produces the juiciest, biggest avocado. And so we don't want to cut off or sever any limbs, any parts of the tree. But it does need healthy roots, strong foundation. But we don't need to be stuck in our linear idea of time. At any moment, we can heal any part of ourselves from any time frame of ourselves. And this is that inner adventure we get to take, this exploration of getting to know ourselves. We have this ideology of what's happening within inside of us is being projected outside of us, but we must explore that and conceptualize that on a much deeper level and really study and observe how that is actually happening. Through our day-to-day routines, through our relationships, through our ultimate understanding of what life is. Because when we change the idea, the belief, where it all begins, we have the power to shift it all. Reaching tall through the spine, casting the heart of the lion out in front of you. And exhaling the shoulders down the back. As you bring the gaze to the backs of the eyelids once more. Just melt into that space. Connect to what's inside. Don't be scared to look. Don't be shy. When you start shifting your relationship with yourself, you'll notice your relationship with everybody else. And it could be the same people. Just start to shift. Play with it. And in this second dimension, when we can ultimately have this level of discernment, of labeling things correctly, understanding where things are rooted, where they're coming from in the first dimension, we can more appropriately respond. Similarly to becoming more privy to exactly where a person's not just superficially where you think all contributing factors. And understanding you're doing that because they're a version of you and they're a mirror, so they're showing you something about yourself. And you don't want to miss that opportunity of getting to learn and meeting that contract and that checkpoint, because that will just be a gap, a hole in your timeline. And that's where we can be disciplined and responsible, and we have to blanket it over everything. I like you more, so you're a version of me, but you're not. This situation I can make sense of. I can break down the air, fire, water, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and actions I've created. This one, I'm not willing to. So that's when we get to study ourselves. And from here, allow a big inhale to puff up that heart of the lion as we come into Leo. You can exhale, big lion's breath, a big or the tongue out. And then inhale, reaching the arms up, hugging that higher self, and closing the hands and bringing the higher self down into the mind, the heart, and the body. And bowing our heads into Mother Earth and thanking her for allowing us to play another day. Namaste. Thank you for joining me this evening. Oh, I finished right on 10 o'clock on the dot. Well, our 10 o'clock on this clock, which is actually, I think, Saskatchewan's time. And so I will be going live again next Monday. And we'll be going into Act 4 of Traveling Yinward and arriving into our third dimensions. So with that playlist, you have a full 7 chakra cleanse. You can take that time now to finish your evening rituals. Journal what came up from that experience. And through these next 7 days, really having that inner dialogue with the 10-year-old and understanding and working through its behaviors and patterns, And we can start to see where these different parts of ourselves might be showing up in situations. Like, is the 10-year-old showing up in this conversation? Is the 20-year-old showing up? What parts of ourselves are then getting triggered, so then we're then going back to those areas of our life and not realizing it. We can then take a kind of a bird's eye view, more of an eagle view, and see it from that perspective. So taking that time to get to know ourselves and giving ourselves a pat on the back for doing so. The road less traveled is not the easy one, so we've got to give ourselves that gratitude. That is the attitude that will keep driving us. I wish you guys all a yummy sleep and a good night and an awesome week, and I'll see you on the mat next Moon Day. Mwah!